Peter Valley, FBAmaster.com here. In this video, I'm going to absolutely destroy any faith that you may have in Amazon's free automated repricing tool. It is an absolute disaster for Amazon sellers, and using it, even though it's free, will actually cost you more in the long run than using a paid repricing tool. I'm going to give you the 8 reasons why Amazon's Repricer is the absolute worst. Let's get into it. Here's what we're going to cover. First of all, Amazon's repricing tool. What is it? Number one. Number two, what's new? I reviewed this first, I think, 7 years ago. I assume things have changed since then. Let's find out what I found. In part two, the main part of this video, the top 8 reasons that Amazon's repricing tool is an absolute disaster for Amazon sellers. Okay, so let's get this out of the way. What is Amazon's automated repricing tool? Very, very simple, just like it sounds. It is a built-in repricer that is free for all Amazon sellers. That again is built in directly to Amazon Seller Central. And it works the way all automated repricers do. You create what are called rules, and you basically say, hey, Amazon, when these conditions apply, reprice the inventory like this. When these conditions apply, reprice it like that. Underpriced by dollar. Here's what to compare you price to, at lowest FBA, lowest merchant fulfilled. Very, very simple. So as you'd expect, this is a stripped down, simplified version of a normal paid automated repricing tool. But it is something very, very different than that. And I would argue a little bit sinister. The main argument I'm going to make in this video is one, that it's a terrible tool that offers none of the features that you need to actually intelligently reprice your inventory. And number two, that it's actually a trap that Amazon has set, where Amazon is attempting to herd sellers into its trap, turn over your inventory to them, and turn over your inventory to suit their agenda, which is completely different than our agenda as sellers. Their agenda being to force prices down and increase turnover, our agenda being to actually make money. So in kind of a literal conspiratorial sense, I consider Amazon's free repricer to be a trap that many sellers have actually been baited into. I'll get into more of that in a second, but first of all, what's my history with this repricer? Well, 7 years ago on FBAmaster.com, I wrote an article, review of Amazon's automated repricer. This, if I remember right, this was shortly after it came out. And the review was pretty scathing, not positive to say the least. In fact, it was so bad that Amazon actually reached out to me directly. One of the people from their automated repricing tool team reached out and said, hey, Peter Valley, can we get on a call with you to find out what you think we could do to make Amazon's repricer better? Well, it's entirely possible that the course of history could have been altered if I'd actually taken Amazon up on this offer for a 60-minute call to give sellers perspective on how they could improve their tool. I didn't do that. My position was basically, look, I laid it all out in the article. Here's what you can do to make it better. If you care, you'll actually implement these changes. If you don't care, then you won't, and they didn't. So now with the passage of 7 years, certainly Amazon has made massive improvements to their repricing tool, right? Certainly they've had the best, developers behind them, best data. Of course, after 7 years, you can build the world's best repricing tool, right? Well, let's get into what I learned when I checked in with Amazon's repricing tool for the first time in 7 years. Spoiler alert, none of it was good. So before I give you the top 8 reasons Amazon's repricing tool is a total disaster, I got to get this out of the way. Subscribe to the YouTube channel immediately. There's a button below and at the top of this video. Hit that right now and subscribe. Also, head over to FBAmaster.com. There's a link below this video and get all the free stuff you see here. You can build an entire business off of what I give away for free. If you do not do both of these things right now, I will personally come to your house. I will find your dog. I will put a Godzilla hat on your dog so that when you come home, you think you are being attacked by Godzilla. And all sorts of chaos will ensue. You can avoid this fate really, really simply. Just subscribe and head over to FBAmaster.com. And last thing before we get into it, I've got to mention the article version of this video is massively more in-depth. In fact, more so than any video I've done, the article version is more in-depth than the actual video. I just didn't have time to get into everything in this video, including a whole tour of the Amazon's repricer, step-by-step process, screenshots, everything. All of that is the article version of this video. You can also link to that at the top of this video, and there's a link below, so check that out if you want a more in-depth tour. Let's get into it. And here we are, the top 8 reasons that Amazon's repricer is the worst in the world. Number 1, in no particular order, Amazon's repricer does not allow you to set pricing rules based on sales rank. This is almost unbelievable. This is so fundamental to any repricing strategy that you reprice inventory largely based on its sales rank. In other words, you're going to reprice an item of inventory that's ranked, 10,000, completely different than one that's ranked 10 million. This is so basic and so obvious, and somehow Amazon has fumbled this. There is literally no option to set pricing rules based on sales rank. It's like, I cannot fathom this. Now, they do offer one called sales units, which as I'll get into, is a complete disaster, and it is in no way a substitute for repricing based on sales rank. It's repricing based on the number of units that you have sold. But again, you'd have to be completely asleep to not see the difference between these two. And how Amazon omitted this is absolutely staggering. And again, this reason alone, we've ignored the other 7. This alone is totally and completely a reason enough to never, ever turn your inventory over to Amazon's Repricer. I just can't believe the oversight here. Reason number 2, Amazon's Repricer does not allow you to set pricing rules based on product category. This is almost as insane as the sales rank one. How Amazon could have either negligently just forgot to add this as a feature, or deliberately, because they have some agenda, left this out as a feature. I don't know which of those two things it is, but it is staggering. How can you not have a separate rule for grocery and books, or DVDs and CDs? Why would you ever reprice those two categories, any two categories, exactly the same? Absolutely staggering. Amazon simply does not allow you to set rules based on category. Reason number 3, I'm already getting worked up, you guys. We're only on number 3 here. This is so insane. Amazon, at the very last stage here, and you can see the whole step-by-step process on the article version of this video, but the last step of setting a repricing rule is to add the SKUs to the rule. So you set the rule, okay, Amazon, when this happens, do this. When this happens, do this. And then at the very end, you take all your inventory and you go, hey, and you assign the inventory item by item to each rule. At this step, the very last step, it is literally impossible to search by partial SKU so that you can increase the efficiency of the step 90% and add items to your repricing rules in bulk. It is literally impossible. Amazon forces you to add every single item of inventory to a pricing rule one by one by one by one. They would literally have to only change one line of code to allow you to search by a partial SKU. In other words, you want to put all your textbooks in one rule. You just put the word text in the SKU, and then you just type in text, and then add all your textbooks at once. Literally impossible. Would be programmatically speaking, be the easiest thing you could possibly do if you're Amazon. And it's almost like we're being trolled. It's almost like they're playing a prank on us. That is how absurd this oversight is. If you ever use Amazon's Repricer, even as an experiment, and you get to the step, you're going to just feel so insulted that they force you to take every item and one by one manually put it in a rule. It's hilarious if it wasn't so insulting. And unlike a lot of these oversights or a lot of these complaints I have about Amazon's Repricer, though most of what I'm describing here you could justify as Amazon has a different agenda than we do, which is reason enough alone to not use their Repricer, because we have totally opposite agendas. At least it's a reason. This one, zero reason. There is no agenda being furthered here. This doesn't help Amazon at all. They just literally don't care. They do not care about making this process any easier on us to sell. Okay, reason number 4. The price above and price below options in any rule, if you're telling Amazon at any point, hey, when this happens, price $1 higher or 50 cents lower, or either of those. Neither of these allows you to set a rule that considers the price of competing offers. Unbelievable. Let me explain what I mean. Let me give you an example. Let's say you got a rule where you tell Amazon, hey, when this happens, drop the price by $2 below the lowest FBA price. What Amazon doesn't allow with its rules is to say, hey, if there's a price that's lower than my price, but it's less than $2, then do this instead. It's impossible. So you're forced to set a fixed amount higher or lower without any regard for competition. So what happens if there are 5 competing offers that are somewhere between 1 penny and $2 lower than yours, and your rule calls to price your inventory, reprice it $2 lower? You're suddenly 6th in line because Amazon refuses to let you acknowledge what competing offers are priced at. There is no possible earthly scenario where I would ever reprice inventory higher or lower without knowing the competing offers that I was competing against and what those prices were. There is 0% chance. It doesn't make any sense. You're basically just throwing a dart at a dartboard blind. You can't. It's not even, oh, well, this is like slightly inconvenient. It's literally impossible. You would never ever do that, ever. It's so again, it's like, what if you're like, hey, Amazon, I want to price this inventory, raise the price by $1. Well, what if there's 500 competing offers that are priced less than $1 above yours. You're now 501st in line. In other words, no one is ever going to see your inventory ever. That's an extreme example, of course, but that would be entirely possible with Amazon's Repricer. So again, the only price it will acknowledge and let you, quote, see or price against is the lowest offer, nothing else. Absolutely insane. Setting your inventory, your profits completely on fire. Okay, reason number 5, Amazon's Repricer only lets you compete against the lowest offer. Now, this is similar to the rant I just went on, a similar issue, but basically there's no rule that says, hey, price against the second lowest offer or the third lowest offer, or if an inventory is really high demand, price between the second and third lowest offer. You are not allowed to know the second, third, fourth, fifth lowest offer. Amazon, whether it's Merchant Fulfilled or FBA, Amazon refuses to let you price against anything other than the lowest offer. Why would you have a pricing strategy that forced you to only acknowledge the lowest price offer? You are essentially held hostage by price fluctuations at that point. In other words, let's say someone crazily comes along and drops their price by $10. Yeah, you've still got your minimum maximum price, but that doesn't even matter because you're still, it's a tyranny of the lowest price that Amazon forces you to subject yourself to. There are countless scenarios where I want to know, hey, you know what? I actually want to price my inventory somewhere between the first and second lowest FBA price, or between the second and third, or even above the third if it's a really high demand item. This is totally normal, just basic pricing strategy. Impossible with Amazon's Repricer. Reason number 6, Amazon does not allow you to exclude competing acceptable condition offers from any repricing rule. Now, let me clarify this. There is a way to do it, but not without collateral damage. Here's what I mean. Amazon does have a filter that allows you to say, hey, only compete against the same sub-condition or better. In other words, if you have a book in your inventory that's in very good condition, you can tell Amazon, hey, don't consider anything that's below very good condition to be a competing offer. So that will exclude acceptable. Guess what it also excludes? Good condition. Good condition is absolutely competitive with a very good condition offer. I did a whole video about this last week. So very good and good are absolutely competitive. But if you want to exclude acceptable and you've got a very good condition or a like new condition item, you must also exclude good condition. And if it's a like new item, you also exclude very good. Completely insane. It would be impossible for Amazon to build its Repricer with an omission this glaring unless they literally talked to 0 Amazon sellers while they were making it. It's so crazy. It would be so simple to add a little checkbox that said just exclude acceptable condition from this rule and nothing else. They didn't even bother to do that. Reason number 7, Amazon's Repricer is the worst in the world. The buy box options do not work for used items. In other words, you can set a rule that says only compare me to the buy box, and it is completely useless if you're selling used condition inventory. Now, I got to clarify this. It's not that it doesn't work. It's that Amazon doesn't tell us. So we have to assume it doesn't work. Here's what I mean. If you go to the buy, there's a rule. And you can say, only compare my offer to the buy box price. Okay, pretty straightforward. Lots of sellers only compete with the buy box. Okay, nothing weird there. But it doesn't clarify if you have a used condition offer and there is a used buy box, is your price being compared to the new condition buy box or the used buy box? There are several categories, video games, CDs, DVDs, books, that have a used condition buy box. Amazon has nothing to say about this. So if you've got a used condition book, you are left to wonder if when you tell Amazon, hey, only compete with the buy box price, you are left to wonder if it's pricing you against the new buy box or the used buy box. Or what if you set the buy box rule and Amazon does acknowledge the used buy box, but it's for a category that doesn't have a used buy box? What happens then? Amazon explains none of this. So we have to assume it's completely useless in the absence of Amazon having any word about this whatsoever. And even giving this most basic explanation, we are left to assume that the buy box rules do not work for used items. Completely insane. Reason number 8, the last one. This is the only one that's a little bit higher level, but it's probably the most important one. When you use Amazon's Repricer and you turn over your inventory to Amazon's automated pricing tool, you are basically being herded into a trap. Amazon has an agenda. Their agenda is to be the low price option across the entire internet. A lot of what they do is to force sellers or coerce sellers into lowering their prices. That's why we see these high pricing alerts that we all can't stand, right? You set a price for something you think is reasonable. Amazon comes along and says, hey, actually, we're going to delist it. We think that price is too high. right? Absolutely frustrating. Amazon's trying to force prices down because it wants to be part of its brand is to be the lowest price option across the entire internet, wants to compete with eBay, wants to compete with Walmart. So you will notice when you're going through all the different settings and the features and the rules in Amazon's automated repricer that a lot of it is geared towards forcing you to drop your prices and sell through your inventory quickly. And we don't even have much time to get into like all the different ways Amazon tries to coerce us into doing that. I go much more in depth to that in the article versions video that you can link to below. But there is a ton of going on in Amazon's repricer where it's subtly trying to force you to only set rules that force the price down. So this Amazon repricing thing, offering a free repricer, is genius on Amazon's part because what they're doing is they're herding all of us into a trap. It's a trap where you turn your inventory over to Amazon. Then Amazon says, okay, now that we've got all your inventory and we're repricing your inventory for you, now you've got to play by our rule. The majority of the options are trying to influence you into lowering your prices and selling through your inventory very, very quickly. That's why I think they don't offer a sales rank filter, sales rank option, because I want you to use this sales units option, which only allows you to drop your prices, not raise them. And there's many other examples of that throughout Amazon's reprice. So your inventory is effectively held hostage and at the mercy of Amazon's agenda. Okay, let's do a thought experiment. What would the ultimate repricing fantasy look like? What would the ultimate automated repricer look like? Very, very simple. There's a lot that I could say here. Let's just break it down in like the top 5. Number 1, allowing you to price against the second and third lowest offer, competing offer, not just the lowest. Second and third merch fulfilled or FBA. No repricer does this that I'm aware of. Completely insane. Number 2, a repricer that has no FBA blind spots. Now, this is worth an entire other massive video covering the FBA blind spot that other repricing tools don't even admit exists. And this is actually the one thing I actually like about Amazon's repricer is there is no FBA blind spots. It's the only repricer that has no FBA blind spots at all. Amazon with third-party software does not allow any third-party software, including repricers, to see, quote, see or price against any FBA offer if it's not priced in the bottom 20, the lowest 20 of all offers. If it's outside that, which it often is, roughly about a third of the fourth of the time, the repricing tool can't see it, so you can't reprice against it. This is a massive blind spot. Amazon doesn't have this blind spot, which would make it amazing, except you also, it still has a blind spot if you can't price against the second lowest FBA offer or the third lowest FBA offer. So it still doesn't work. Number 3, simply allowing users to create rules based on sales rank, partial SKU, and product category. Now, most repricers do this, but this is absolutely mandatory. Amazon's repricer does not allow us these things. Number 4, a repricer that lets you price against the new and used buy box, which again, Amazon either doesn't do or doesn't even clarify whether it does. Number 5, to reprice based on an item's condition. Most repricers allow this. This is pretty straightforward. Amazon does not. Amazon sort of does, as we covered, but not really. So what all of this means here and everything we covered is that Amazon's free repricing tool is actually very, very expensive. It will cost you way more in profits than you're saving by not using a paid tool. Okay, so you guys, you got a 3-part mission now. Are you ready? Here we go. Mission number 1, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Again, if you do not do that, I will come to your house, put a Godzilla hat on your dog so that when you come home, you think you're being attacked by Godzilla. You can avoid this by hitting the link below this video and subscribing to the YouTube channel right now. Mission number 2, head over to fbamastery.com. You can build a whole business, an entire business off of what I give away for free. I got free reports, free web classes. The link is below this video to get all this stuff, fbamastery.com. Lastly, take what you learned in this video and go make money with it. If you're using Amazon's repricer, stop that immediately. If you're still shopping for a repricer, take that checklist I gave you and go shop it around and find one that fits. That's it, you guys. This is Peter Valley signing off, and I'll see you in the next video.